Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
Hello, Bots and Books fans, this is Scorp1701, and tonight we are going to be taking a look at this Super 7 Star Trek The Next Generation Ultimates Locutus of Borg. Yes, the Borgified Captain Picard in all of his creepiness, and I am sad to say that this will be the final Super 7 Star Trek The Next Generation Ultimates figure that we get to take a look at. I'm afraid the series was canceled, and this is it. But fear not, there is hope in getting your entire bridge crew, and I'll explain how at the end of the video. But first off, let's take a look at this awesome Locutus. Now, Locutus comes in your standard Super 7 Ultimates box. You have a beautiful box here with a star field right here. You have the Starfleet Delta right there. Ages 14 plus, Locutus of Borg, Super 7. On the left side of the box, you just got some Starfield again. On the right side, Starfield. On the top of the box, you have Ultimates. On the bottom of the box, you have some credits for the box and a barcode, and I'll scroll in real close so you can see that. Maybe that will help you find this figure, maybe not, who knows. But once we're done with that, we're going to go around to the back of the box, and we will find an awesome Star Trek The Next Generation logo there. Contents: one figure with accessories, Star Trek Universe, and Super 7. And that is really cool. But this was put out at the time that Super 7 was still putting slip covers on their action figures. So there is still more to this presentation. As we pull back, we can pull the slip cover up, and we will see Locutus of Borg in his gruesome form. And this is horrible and grotesque and such a terrible fate for Captain Picard. But at the top, you have ages 14 plus, Super 7. You can see some alternate heads and Locutus sitting in there, all spooky looking. Star Trek The Next Generation has now appeared. Locutus stays the same. On the top, you still have Ultimates. Left, nothing. Right, nothing. But on the back of the secondary box, we do have a nice picture of Jean-Luc Picard as Locutus of Borg, and I will zoom in there and we can see him and all of his defiledness. Oh, that poor guy. And then we can take a look at this awesome read-up, and you can pause the video, read that to your heart's content, but we must be moving backward and onward, and that is the packaging for Locutus of Borg. And I don't want to see Locutus of Borg in this packaging. I know you don't, so let's get him out and start our resistance. And here we have Locutus of Borg out of the box, and out of the box he stands approximately 7 inches tall. He comes with 2 alternate heads and technically two alternate hands, in which I will explain in just a moment. But first off, I want to take a closer look at Locutus himself. And coming in real close on Locutus's head sculpt. Now, this is a very creepy but detailed head sculpt, and I love it. Now, this will be the head sculpt that he had when he was fully Borgified. Now, there was another couple head sculpts that we'll take a look at tonight, but this is the one that he had when he was fully Borg. And you can see it's got a lot of awesome detail. He has this very light white skin, very creepy. He has his Borg attachments right here on his forehead. You do get a little bit of green color here and some gold or coppery color. That is very nice. Goes around his nose. You can see his eyes sticking out there, his mouth coming around. You do get his little red section there for his laser pointer. That was nice. A lot of awesome detail in this molded head. You do have some tubes coming down. Here's one. You do have a second tube here coming down, and it does attach here, but with a little effort you can pull that out, because this particular tube is going to be attached to the head, and it has to be removable because you can remove the heads. Coming around to the back, you do get another section right here of Borg implants with nice silver and some more coppery, and another wire that goes all the way around to the other side of the head. and that comes down. That is just weird and cool. And then you got a little bit of detail here on the side with the ears, and another Borg implant going up the side of his face here. Let me get that out of the way so you can see it's a nice silver coloring. That is awesome. All right, that's just creepy. Let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see this fellow's upper torso. And wow, look at this costume. It is done very nicely. It is a dark brown, really, but you do have some cool silver washes up here to bring out the details of the armor or the suit, but you got some nice detail all through this thing, some good shoulder pads. There are little ports everywhere around it. Very nice. Coming around to the side, it's a nice silver wash again. Coming to the back. Wow, look at this. You have like a spine right here going down with some more details. You do have this entire right arm with some hoses coming off of it. That is cool. Going to the sides. That is nice. The lower torso, the middle torso is built up. You got some hoses. These are just molded in. These are not actual hoses, so that is cool. The whole body is going to be the same dark brown coloring. Even down to the waist section, you do have some more details on the sides with that little coppery or gold wash painted on them. That is some nice detail. You do have some hoses molded to his left leg, and they are nicely done in a glossy black paint. Got some knee pads there, and that is very nice. Coming down to his big brown boots, you do get some tread work on the bottom of the feet. That is good, with a peg hole in case you want to mount him anywhere. And wow, there is just a lot of detail. Even on the back, you do have these nice little sections here. Very, very good. The right arm, I want to go into a little more specifics on this because this is really cool. From the shoulder to the bicep, you have this one section, and this again where the hose is. But then for the forearm to the hand, you have this entire section here. It looks kind of like a tree trunk the way it's molded and sculpted though, but actually it's just the attachment that they put onto Picard. And you got the silver piece down here, which is really nice, and you got a lot of different attachments coming off the top. They're not articulate, they don't move, but this is just a very cool looking piece. You do have two little hoses that go into it, so one and then two. And what's interesting about these, you can detach them from the main trunk forearm, as it were, like this and like this, and then this can come off. You have a single piece, and this is what I was referring to when he kind of has two alternate hands. This is really nice, and you might remember in the show Best of Both Worlds Part 2 where Data got tired of Picard messing around and ripped this off of him. So that is pretty neat. And then if you want to look at the base where we remove that, there's a lot of good detail in that. It would have been cool if they painted that. In the show, there was some lights on it, and you could put a dab of paint on there if you want to, but yeah, that's pretty neat. And zooming back out, that is going to be your Locutus of Borg, and he looks phenomenal. A lot of great detail in this figure. Looks exactly like Locutus of Borg should look like, and that is scary. All right. Moving on. And for our articulation, now the articulation will be hindered just a little bit because of all the hoses, but we could work around a majority of it. Okay, so starting at the head, now remember, this hose right here is attached, so just unattach it to whatever port you have it in, and then that will allow the head to move freely around 360 degrees. It can wiggle left, wiggle right, wiggle forward and up, and you can basically get a lot of wiggle waggle in the head. Again, watch out for the hoses. You don't want to be too rough on these ones that are attached to the main head that aren't supposed to come off, because you don't want to rip those off. So that is cool. Coming to the shoulder, shoulder can come up from the body a little bit. It will push the shoulder pad up, but it's still okay. And then back down, can go around 360 degrees. You do have a bicep rotation, 360 degrees, which will bring you down to an elbow bend. Now, the elbow bend is not 90 degrees. I'd say it's just short, maybe 85. Bringing that down, you do have a forearm rotation, 360 degrees, and that will bring you to your hand. The hand can go around 360 degrees, and it can hinge out and in, up and down, depending on where you have it set. Coming to the other arm, now it's interesting because this is a completely different type of arm. You still can kind of go up a little bit, but the shoulder pad here is a little bigger and it might get caught up on the neck, but that's okay. Then coming back down, it can go around 360 degrees. Again, you do have a bicep rotation here, but when you rotate this side, you do have this hose connected to the shoulder pad, so you can't go 360 degrees around because you'll start pulling your cable, and that is never a good thing because that will wrap it up and tight it, and you might break it, so don't do that. You do have an elbow bend here, which again is the same as the other side. You get about 85 degrees right there, and that is built into a large lower arm rotation, 360 degrees there. And coming down, you do have the section that we took off earlier, and that will go around 360 degrees, but it is again attached to the main forearm with these two hoses. So if you want to take the two hoses off, then yes, you can go 360 degrees around. So that is pretty neat. And it would be neat if these little things were articulated, but that would be a lot of detailed work. So anyway, going to the middle of the body, you do have your standard abdomen rotation, which is built into this upper, waist section, and it can wiggle, waggle left and right. You have 360 degrees rotation there. It can kind of go back and forward, left and right, so that is cool. Coming to the legs, legs can come up just a little bit. Back, not so much because the butt gets in the way. They can go out to the side a little bit. You do get a little bit of thigh rotation, just a couple clicks, not too much. And then that will bring you down to your single jointed knee bend. And that's okay. You do get a little bit of hiddenness there because the knee pad kind of hides it. I like that. Coming down to your foot, the foot can hinge down and up, and it can rock to your left and rock to your right, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to try 360 degrees, although it might be able to do that, but it does feel a little tight, so I don't want to break my ankle. And that is going to be Locutus's articulation. Again, not perfect because the hose is getting in the way, but I'd prefer the detail over the functional articulation when it comes to this guy. So I'm not unhappy about it. All right, moving on. And for Locutus's first accessory, he comes with an alternate left hand. It's good as far as hands go, I suppose. It can hold items if you have something for him to hold, but he didn't really come with anything, so he'll just have to find something. It's done in that nice brown coloring. It has a nice coppery color for this detail on the palm, and yeah, it looks really nice. Now, I think it would have been better if they had given us a alternate right forearm where we could replace the tree trunk looking thing. But this is what we got, so we will use it as we see fit. All right. And taking a look at one of Locutus's alternate heads. Now, this is an interesting one. I think it does show that he is getting Borgified. You do have a little bit of Borg implants being put onto his right side of his face, so that is neat. And you do have his nice ear molded in there, some hair detail, and the head is a really good Picard head. Now, what I think would have made this one a little more interesting, because you didn't really ever see Picard look like this as a Borg in the series, but he did look like this at the end where they had removed the Borg implant. So if this head was skin tone and you had the regular eyes and these implants were painted white, I think that would be a cool matchup, and I think this would look good on a regular Picard body. But that isn't what this is. This is obviously Picard in his first stages of being Borgified. Very creepy. And coming to Picard's third head. Now this is the head sculpted in the way that he appeared when he first came on the screen as a Borg and freaked everybody out. So yeah, everybody's like, oh my god, he's a Borg! And you see him like this, and it's really cool. He does have his Borg implants here on the right side of his head. They're nice, detailed with a little bit of coppery finish there and wash. And then you can see he does have the laser pointer here at the bottom, and I wouldn't have been upset with a little bit of red paint right there to indicate the laser pointer, because he definitely had it when he first appeared. Coming to the back, you do get that panel added there now with the silver, so that is creepy. And then we'll continue around, and then you do get the hair and the ears, and then you got this little puncture on the bottom of his chin. That is cool. And then you have this little puncture up here at the top. Now I thought they were like factory mold defects, but actually they are accurate, and that's where Borg hoses will come, as you saw in the first head. So yeah, this is really cool and really creepy for a Picard head. And this is going to be Locutus of Borg's accessories. Moving on. And for comparison, here you have Locutus with Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Now they are approximately the same height. I do think Locutus's armor makes him look a little bigger and buffer than Picard, but it's basically going to be the same relative height, and the head sculpts are going to be about the same. The expression is going to be a little different. The one I have on Captain Picard is the more grim one. There is a happier one, but I don't think under the situation that was appropriate. But yeah, they look really good together. And yeah, they could see the enemy within. So that is a very neat comparison. And finally, for comparison, here you have Locutus with the rest of the bridge crew that Super 7 has given us. Commander Riker, Commander Data, and Lieutenant Worf. So yeah, this is a really cool group. And unfortunately, it's the entirety of the Super 7 Next Generation Ultimates line. Alright, that's actually sad. Moving on. And this has been the Super 7 Star Trek The Next Generation Ultimates Locutus of Borg. And I am very happy with this figure. I couldn't believe the amount of detail they spent on this figure. The individual hoses and the tubes coming out here and there, it was great. The attention to detail from the series and the head sculpts were really good, and this is just an amazingly detailed figure. The articulation is a little bit wonky because of the tubes and the hoses, but for the most part, you can get them into any position that you want, so I'm not too upset about the articulation. The accessories are just two alternate heads and an alternate hand for the left side, which I think if they would have adjusted it to where he could have an alternate right hand instead of the whole tree arm thing, I think that would have worked out a little better, but he has a holding hand in case he wants to find something to hold, I guess. And that about covers it for the figure. It's very nicely done. Again, I can't say enough about the detail that they put into it, and if you are a Locutus of Borg fan, you definitely want to pick this up. You can find him at some comic shops or specialty stores will have him, but mostly you'll have better luck finding him online, and he will go for approximately $55 to $60 depending on where you pick him up. So if you are looking, happy hunting. And that is going to be it for Locutus of Borg. It is also unfortunately going to be it for the Super 7 Star Trek The Next Generation Ultimates line. Now Super 7 did have a Guinan figure in the works, and she was solicited in both Wave 1 and 2 of this series. Unfortunately, according to an article I read by Brian Flynn, there was not enough interest to keep the line going, so they have decided to cancel her figure and the rest of the line. So we are not going to be getting a Super 7 complete bridge crew, and that is very sad and depressing to a degree. But the figures that we did get were really good, really articulated, and looked great. Very frustrating, though, to start a line not to be able to get at least the main characters. So I will leave you with a couple options that you might be interested in. Now, taking a look at what we have Picard, Data, Riker, and Worf, so that makes up a majority of the crew. You could supplement these with the Art Asylum figures, and you'll have Deanna Troi, Dr. Crusher, and Geordi LaForge if you're interested in doing that. But the scale for the Art Asylum figures was a bit taller, so that might throw off your collection, particularly if you are a stickler about scale. The second option I can offer you is to wait, because there is a new company called Nacelle that has purchased the Star Trek licenses, and they are going to be putting out Star Trek figures next year. They have already got a first wave of 8 figures solicited, and that will start off with some very obscure characters, some niche characters, if you will. Starting off, they have solicited Captain Jellicoe. He was from the Star Trek TNG episodes The Chain of Command, where he took over the Enterprise for a little bit. That was pretty neat. They have Peter Preston, who was aboard the Enterprise in Star Trek II, and he got killed when Khan attacked the ship, and he is also Scotty's nephew. The third figure is Valkyris. That is the Klingon agent in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, who helped get the Genesis device to the Klingons, so if you were ever interested in her. They have Captain Garrett from yesterday's Enterprise, the TNG episode, which was really good, and was the only TNG episode that explored an alternate reality. I thought that was cool. Figure number 5 is Tuvix, and that was the combination of Tuvok and Neelix in that transporter accident in the Voyager episode, so that was pretty neat. Also a controversial episode if you're interested in picking that one up. The next few figures we didn't actually have sculpts or molds or renders of, so they just gave us pictures and names, which is okay, I suppose. Starting with figure number 6, we have Mirror Universe Captain Archer from Star Trek Enterprise. Figure 7 would be Weyoun from Deep Space Nine, and that is something I'm definitely interested in. I really loved the Weyoun character. And finally, figure 8, Captain Sulu from Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, and flashback episode of Voyager. So yeah, that is a neat look at the Nacelle group. Now these are supposed to be 6-inch figures. I do believe they would scale really well with the Super 7 here, but you'd have to get them and see, and hopefully the Nacelle line will be a hit, and that will spawn the rest of the crew, and they will scale good with your Super 7 here. But it may be a long wait. Anyway, those are some options for you guys. I hope that I gave you some good ideas. I do hate that Super 7 didn't at least finish out the bridge crew, but sucky as it is, that's how business works. Anyway, guys, that is it. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great night, and until next time, keep playing.